Good morning. It's Thursday, February the 13th, day before Valentine's Day, and this is episode 3 of the vlogging I'm trying to do. This is Valerie Person, back in my classroom today. So today I have 2 goals. One, less touching of my face and hair. And secondly, to decrease the length of the videos of the vlog. So I'm trying to work on that. And I wanted to highlight today Lane Smith's It's a Book. Lane Smith is both the author and the illustrator. And shout out to my friend Amanda Spence, who when she was teaching had this, and when she left the classroom she bequeathed this to me. So thank you, Amanda. So before I kind of get into this, I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to be using this right now in my classes. We are working on the first more formalized writing assignment that my students are doing. We're actually doing introduce the rhetorical triangle, and we're using that for them to rhetorically analyze the halftime performance that was sponsored by Apple Music at Super Bowl 59, Kendrick Lamar's piece. So it's interesting. We'll see what they end up writing. Lots of different opinions about that, which makes it a great text to look at and to analyze with the rhetorical triangle. And then we're going to be moving in, because we've been just doing short pieces of reading, but we're going to be moving into the library for a book of length, okay, a whole book, a novel. And so I love this particular CPB for a couple of reasons. It's great with the illustrations. Lane Smith's illustrations are just fun. But I also love it because it is satire. And so that's one of the concepts that I hit really hard in senior English. There's a significant portion of the district exam that really pulls satirical pieces and really tests students on what do you understand about satire? Do you recognize it, and what is its purpose? So whenever I can work satire in, not just in like one unit, but working on those satirical skills, I'm always ready to do that. And satire is something that not everybody always understands. I tell a story about, I tell my students this story, and so I'll share this. Years ago, and that's the benefit of staying and teaching for 30 years in the same place. One of the benefits is that I have lots of stories here to share. So years ago, I was doing some satire with my sophomores, and we were actually looking at the song lyrics. There's a song, Short People Have No Reason to Live, and it's been, I can't think of the composer's name, but he's won many awards for soundtracks, for music, for movies, films. And so we were looking at that as a satirical piece, and I'd gone up to the office to make copies of the lyrics as we were going to analyze them and talk about what was satirical. And I put the copy in the machine and programmed it, and then the faculty restrooms are right behind the copy machine, so I put it in and then went to the restroom. And when I came out, the then principal walked out and said, "Miss Person, could you step into my office for a moment?" And I was like, "Okay, sure," because I noticed that my the copies were gone, right there at the copy machine. I was kind of looking at this when he stepped out, and so thought, being summoned to the principal's office. And so stepped in, he said, and he handed me the original, and he said, "I had somebody that complained about this. Could you share with me why you're making copies of this song? The charge or the allegation is that it's offensive, and are you making fun of short people, Miss Person?" So I explained to this principal, and fortunately, this principal had, in his earlier part of his career, had been an English teacher. And so he said, "No, we're doing satire," and da-da-da. "Oh, okay, all right." So anyway, the point was, and the person that had brought the charge had just come up and seen it out of context and just assumed. And so anyway, so I went through with the lesson, and I always share with students, if somebody sees something and doesn't understand context or whatever, it's easy to take offense. And a lot of times satire, the other thing is, if you don't understand things, sometimes it goes right over the one's head. So satire is not always easy to recognize, and it can make it challenging at times to teach. But once students get it, they get it on some level because it's part of their landscape, I think. Particularly in 2025, but they just don't always have that term associated with it and understand necessarily the purposes of it. So whenever I can work in satire for reinforcement and getting students to recognize and see, I take advantage of that. So this book is a great example of satire, and it is titled "It's a Book." I guess the title page is really funny. In fact, let me see if I can turn this around so that you can see the title page. It's a book, but you've got it's a mouse, it's a jackass, it's a monkey. So it's funny because even the use of the jackass is satirical. So okay, let me set it back up here. So anyway, the book is the little jackass is sitting here asking the monkey. The monkey's reading a book, and he's like, "What do you have there?" It's a book, okay? And so it goes on. Well, how do you scroll down? And the monkey's like, I don't. I turn the page. It's a book. Do you blog with it? No, it's a book. Well, where's your mouse, right? And there's an actual mouse, so we've got the pun going on as well. Can you make characters fight? Nope. Book. It's already set here. Can it text? No. Tweet? No. Wi-Fi? No. Can it do this? No. Okay. It's a book. Look. And I love this. This is the one page in the middle, the surprise here. We've got this long page of description of this book, right? Of this story. The book that the monkey is reading, which is great. But, satirical, because one of the issues that, that a lot of teachers face, most teachers, are students have a hard time that they lack the reading stamina to read anything of length. And what was considered length when I was in high school has drastically shifted to what is considered length in 2025. So I heard some colleagues the other day, they were talking about, like, I handed out a 2-page short story. It had 10 paragraphs, and the students were groaning and were like, oh, this is so much to read. So stamina is something that we are being forced to deal with. We've been dealing with it, and what I think happens is that a lot of students have never been caught up in the pleasure that a book offers, and that's a real shame. So much emphasis on testing, what ends up so much is that it's passages, it's read theory, it's multiple choice answers. So students have really missed out in a lot of cases on finding the pleasure of being in a book, immersed in a book. So that's really what this short CPB is satirizing. So we've got too many letters is what the jackass says about the page in the monkey's book here. So let me fix it, and so now we've got texting language. So there's kinds of things being satirized in this book. And of course the monkey looks at it, and it's not a good substitute. What else can this book do? Does it need a password? Right? Need a screen name? No, it's a book. And then finally, I love this. The jackass sits down with the book, and given the time, which I think speaks to the importance of even providing some reading time in class, independent reading time, reading books of choice, is so important, because eventually you hope that students will begin to fall in love with the reading itself without the pressure or the threat of, okay, you have to read this and you have to do this with it, however we're going to assess it with it. But you want students to become readers. And then we've got, are you going to give my book back? The monkey wants it back. And the jackass has fallen in love with it. No. Okay, fine, which I love that. He's willing to sacrifice his book, at least temporarily. I'm going to the library. Monkey's going to go back and get another book. Don't worry, I'll charge it up when I'm done, which is so funny. You don't have to. The jackass still has not caught on yet. All right, fully, I should say. It's a book, jackass. And so I think that this is really funny for multiple reasons. It's a great way to introduce satire. And so I'm going to use it to introduce satire and as a launch before we go down and we choose our first independent read novel. And so I will start building, short amounts of time, increments of time for independent reading to honor that, to give students a chance to fall in love, which I love too. A lot of students talk about that they loved reading when they were first learning to read and with CPBs, and I've had, conferred with many a student that talked about somewhere along the line, where did that love, get derailed, and where you begin to view it as just a chore, laborious, that there's no pleasure in it. And so part of my work with children's picture books is to try to remember that first love, remember those loves that you had for stories. I think it's a natural human thing to love stories. A lot of times the other things that come with it are what actually cause us not to love reading. And but the pleasure of it, I think that's a natural instinct. So anyway, that's the latest with Lane Smith's It's a Book, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.